Who doesn't want that, right? So I'm here to help you ditch that shift. But we don't want to ditch that shift if we can't close any sales, right? So as you see, I'm going to talk you through my signature detachment strategy. We want to detach ourselves from the sale so that we can actually make the sale, right? Breathe, acknowledge, process, and refocus. But before we talk about all that, right? Why is it important for us to detach ourselves from the sale? If you get on the phone, right, and you're talking to somebody, you're trying to sell your coaching or your consultant services to them, right? And all you can do is worry about them buying your services. Your potential client picks up on that. And when they pick up on that, guess what they don't do? They do not buy from you because you come off as desperate. Let me know in the comment section. Does that make sense? Think about a time that you've gone into a store, that you've gone to buy a car, that you've gotten a sales call and the person was too pushy? That desperation was evident. How did that make you feel? Did it make you want to buy the services? No, right? Because what happened was that salesperson, and yes, guess what? Newsflash, if you're a small business owner, you are a salesperson until you can build your team. Period, right? So if you're a salesperson and all you can do is focus on the end product of I gotta close the sale, you are anxious, you're not on your A game, and the potential client knows this. So walk with me. Imagine going to a store knowing that you want to buy something. And every time you take a step, the salesperson is right on your back, constantly talking, 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 talking. What the heck? Right? How can you, the consumer, make a decision about what to buy when it's constantly somebody trying to force you to buy something that you're not even sure you're interested in yet? So I want to let you know this. It is not your job as a small business owner to convince people to buy your services. That does not work. That doesn't work, right? So here's some ways for you to know, because the reality is this: some of you have not started a business yet. So, you might say, well, why do I need to know this? Because once you start, if you start out just trying to control the sale, you're not going to make any, right? And this is coming from a woman. After only 4 months in business, I was able to get to my first 8K month. After only 4 months in business, because I knew how to detach myself from the outcome, right? There's some of you that I've spoken to that have already started your businesses, but you're not making any sales, or you're not making sales enough to allow you to become a full-time entrepreneur. So this is for you if you want to become a full-time entrepreneur, whether you started or not. So how do you know that you're attached to the sale? You keep talking. You just won't be quiet and let that person who's making a decision about about buying your product or your service, you won't let them speak, right? So if you're constantly the one talking most of the time during the sales conversation, you are attached to the outcome. If you're trying to push your point of view on the client, you're trying to get them to see it your way, you are attached to the outcome. You should want independent thinkers, because if not, once they come into your coaching and consulting program, they're going to give you a headache because you haven't showed them that they're capable of making decisions on their own. And thirdly, you keep stressing the same points over and over again. They've heard you already. They've heard you. But because you're so attached to this, you're making it about you as a person. You're emotionally attaching yourself to the outcome of the sale. You feel like you have to prove something, right? You feel like you have to prove something. And here's a news flash, guys. I want you to say this to yourself. You cannot control the outcome of the sale. Say it. If you can't, write it in the chat area. I cannot control the outcome of the sale. Once you let that go, you get that off your shoulders, you actually become a better salesperson. You really do. Because it's like you're talking to somebody, you're networking, you're seeing what their needs are, you're letting them see how your solutions can help them with their needs, and then you're letting them make a decision. Doesn't that sound better? Right? But when you're attaching yourself to it, now you're dealing with anxiety and depression. Now you're not motivated to continue to build your business, right? All because you're attaching your personal emotions to the outcome of every sale. That is draining. That is draining, right? But let's be honest though. Let's face it. Nobody likes to be rejected. If you like to be rejected, put your hand up. I don't like to be rejected. Nobody does, right? So how do we deal with those feelings of rejection? How do we deal with not taking it personal when someone doesn't hire us on as their coach or consultant? I don't care if you are a health coach, a relationship coach, a wealth coach, a happiness coach. I don't care what you coach on. These are the four things, and you see it ticking across the screen, that I walk my clients through that help them detach themselves from the sales outcome so that they can be effective salesmen. First and foremost, I want you to breathe. Take some nice cleansing breaths. I want you to do that before the call or the conversation. And I also want you to do it after because that keeps you grounded, right? It keeps you grounded and it decreases the angst or the desire to control the outcome, right? So, number one, just breathe, right? Number two, acknowledge how you feel. Acknowledge that you really want to service this person. Acknowledge that you have a bottom line. You really want your business to hit a certain revenue. Acknowledge. Acknowledge that. Acknowledge that it doesn't feel good when somebody doesn't believe that the solution you offer is a solution to their problem when you really believe you can help them, right? Have some self compassion for yourself. Self compassion for yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. Be kind to yourself. The reality is, think about it like this. How many ketchup brands are there? There are probably so many of them. You think that the makers of Heinz ketchup are sitting back crying because somebody chose their competitor? No. They see what their competitor is doing well, they see what they're not doing so well, and then they execute, they market, right? That's it. So first, breathe. Two, acknowledge how you feel. It's if you don't acknowledge how you feel, you're never going to be able to make change. Three, now process everything. I'm not talking about your feelings because your feelings, you've acknowledged that already. But process everything. What are your thoughts? Is there a particular part of the conversation that you're having with your clients during that sales call when you realize that you're emotionally attached to the outcome, right? So what are some ways that you can process it? You can do some meditation where you're actually sitting still and processing everything that you've gone through, the feelings that you're having, the outcomes of the sales calls that you're having. You can exercise. Exercise is a great way to get your body moving, to clear your mind, and to process the things about the sales call that made you feel emotionally drained. Right? And the third thing you can do is you can journal. Ladies, journal about this. When you get off that sales call, what happened? How did you feel? What did you say that made you to believe that you were still attached to the outcome of the sales? Were you trying to repeat yourself? Were you lowering your prices just so you can come be my client? Did you do those things to yourself? What did you do? Right? And then the fourth thing that I want you to do is I want you to refocus. And who are we refocusing on? We're taking the focus off of us and putting it back on our client, right? Because when it's about the client feels that energy and they want to buy from you. When it's about that client, you are no longer just selling services. You are letting the client know, make a decision because you trust that once you present what you're offering, once you present it, you're so sure about what you're presenting, you let them make the decision and you're confident. And whatever decision they make is the right one for them, right? So when you refocus onto the client, you're taking the pressure off of you to convince them to buy your services, right? So breathe, acknowledge, process, and refocus. Don't be that sleazy salesperson who pressures your potential clients into wanting to buy with them. Think about when you've been sold to and you've been pressured. How often did you buy? You didn't. Or if it was a call that you were pressured on, you'd say, yeah, I'm going to buy it. And then you'd never purchase it. Right? So think about those experiences. Right? So I have two options for you to work with me. If you are ready to ditch the exhaustion, you want to know how to start. You want to know how to sell. You want to get clear on your niche. I'm the biz coach for you. I'm Dr. Naima. I'm a PhD prepared registered nurse and I have a successful coaching business, right? I help people just like you learn how to sell, learn how to market yourself, learn what to say, and learn to detach yourself from the sales outcome. If you are ready for your transition, I should say, from struggling entrepreneur or from employee to profitable entrepreneur, let's go. Let's go. I am Dr. Naima, and I'm here to help you ditch that shift, build your online empire, and become your own boss. Have a great day.